afternoon and welcome to Westwood Motorsport Park and the Rothmans Superbike Challenge presented by Castrol Canada. Hello everybody, I'm Pat Gonzalez in beautiful Coquitlam, British Columbia for round 5 of Canada's premier motorcycle road racing series. With me is Craig Hill, and Craig, this has got to be the tightest battle we've ever had for the Superbike #1 plate.
Oh, for absolute sure, Pat. You know, we've had 4 winners in 4 different races, and you know, I think this is indicative of how the manufacturers have got behind the riders this year, and everybody's got a competitive bike. So now, what it really is down to rider ability. And, you know, with the prize and contingency money that we've got to offer in this series at the end of it, we've got 10 different riders who could possibly win this series. So it's really tight and really competitive this year.
Well, Craig, it used to be that the Eastern riders would dominate racing back east and the Western riders would win it all here at Westwood. But the series has been so competitive this year that really any one of 10 riders have got a real good shot at winning the Superbike race here at Westwood. Our season began at Saint-Air, Quebec, where Ruben McMurder won on his Rothmans Honda Interceptor 750. It was then on to Shubenacadie, Nova Scotia for round number 2, where Gary Goodfellow was the winner on his Don Nitt Sugano RC30 Honda. Round number 3 was at Shannonville Motorsport Park, where Steve Dick was the winner after Ruben McMurder crashed while in a commanding lead. And then in our last race, it was Steve Crevier, the surprise winner at Race City Speedway in Calgary.
Oh, surprise for sure, Pat. You know, the number 73 hadn't run any of our televised races so far this year, and this year he went into Calgary and he just blew everybody away. Steve entered the Pro 750 production race with a new Yamaha, starting 7th on the grid. He worked his way past all the other riders, including the series points leader, Michel Mercier, and challenged number 97, Miguel Duhamel, on the last lap. It was a hotly contested photo finish, with the call going to Duhamel, but it proved that the veteran could be competitive at any time.
The next televised race was the feature Superbike 15-lapper with Tommy Douglas, number 2, the pole sitter, carrying our onboard Sony Handycam camera. Tommy led for 7 laps until who else but Steve Crevier on his 1987 Yamaha blew past with number 24, Ruben McMurder, right behind. Crevier was not to be denied, taking a convincing win over McMurder, Douglas, Goodfellow, and Mercier. Here's Steve Crevier with his impressions on his big win at Calgary and his season so far.
Calgary, I did better than I thought I ever could there. It was kind of a surprise to me. I won it, so now we're here at Westwood. It seems to be everybody's expecting me to win this. It seems to add quite a bit of pressure to me right now.
Crevier's win at Calgary has really tightened up the Superbike Points Championship. With only 2 races left, this is the way those standings look. Ruben McMurder leads with 45. In second is Steve Dick with 40, Douglas with 38, Murphy with 27, followed by Goodfellow, Mercier, Crevier, Duhamel, Medallia, and a tie for 10th place between Mike Griffiths and Paul McMillan.
The Superbike qualifying heat race here at Westwood was superb. Gary Goodfellow won that race. He'll start from the pole position. Gary also picking up those all-important 2 championship points. But it was a bitter disappointment for the Rothmans Honda rider, Ruben McMurder. Coming into this race, he has a 5-point lead over Steve Dick, but he crashed in the qualifying heat in turn 2 and will have to start at the back of the grid. It'll in fact be a monumental task for McMurder to get up to the front and run with the likes of Goodfellow, Steve Dick, and Steve Crevier, who really know this track here at Westwood. When we come back, we'll have our first race. That'll be for showroom stock Pro 750 production machines. We'll be back at Westwood in just a moment. To Westwood Motorsport Park, the motorcycles are rolling up to the starting line for our Pro 750 production race. Michel Mercier, who will be starting in the 2nd row, can wrap up the Canadian National 750 Production Championship if he finishes 6th or better here today. But that is going to be tough. Gary Goodfellow will be starting on the pole position. Steve Dick is hungry for a win. Miguel Duhamel and Norm Murphy on the Kawasaki's will be tough. Here's Craig Hill.
24 riders will start this race with some very fast guys from the Westwood Club.
There's the drop of the flag. Gary Goodfellow, Steve Dick charged through the kink and into turn 1, and it's Goodfellow, number 11, who grabs the lead. Michel Mercier through to the inside. He'll move his Suzuki into 2nd place. Gary Goodfellow stretching it out here, 7 or 8 bike lengths as the riders head through turn number 2 for the first time. But it's Goodfellow on that Honda RC30 as he leads Michel Mercier, number 1. The riders coming out of that big right-hand carousel about to head up onto the back straightaway and for the charge up over Deer's Leap for the first time. There you can see the field stringing out. It's Goodfellow, number 11, who'll lead him into the hairpin. It's side by side for second. On the inside, Michel Mercier there was being challenged, and I believe Steve Dick has moved through into that second place position. And Mercier now having his hands full with 73 Crevier, as Crevier now moves up to challenge for third. They're side by side, but there's Gary Goodfellow, number 11, your leader in this Pro 750 production race. And Craig, Goodie's opened up a pretty good lead here already.
Goodie's a good rider on this track, Pat. He knows his way around, and his bike's working very, very well at the moment.
Michel Mercier in that third place position again, sixth or better, and he'll wrap up the championship here in Pro 750 production. Norm Murphy, 87, a little further back on the Kawasaki. He's having a pretty good scrap, and Murph still in the hunt. He'll lose a position as they go up over Deer's Leap once again.
Oh, Pat, hard braking down into that hairpin. You know, this course is very, very hard on brakes.
There you could see Crevier. He has moved around Mercier in a third. Michel runs fourth, followed by Fletcher, and then Craig Trinder in the sixth place spot. But it is Gary Goodfellow, number 11, who leads them back to the start-finish line.
Michel Mercier on his Suzuki has moved up to fifth, just behind Darrell Fletcher. You know, Pat, he must finish sixth or better to win the Pro 750 production championship. And I asked him if that takes any of the pressure off in this series.
Yes, for sure, it takes a lot of pressure off, because it's like if I look at the production qualifier, you know, it was a fast pace, and you know, if I would have to get a win, it would be very hard, but to get six or better would be kind of not easy, but would be less work, so I think I can wrap it up today.
Well, right now, Michel Mercier still holding on to that fifth place position, but he's got Craig Trinder all over him. There's the battle for second through the kink. Crevier and 101, Steve Dick were side by side. Crevier into that second place position, and these two riders who know every inch of this racetrack are really hammering at each other for their second place position. There you can see just how far Gary Goodfellow has moved ahead of that second place battle. There is Goodie on that beautiful Castrol RC30 Honda. Goodfellow checks over the left shoulder as he moves up onto the back straightaway. The second place battle still hotly contested between Steve Dick, number 101, and 73, and there's Goodfellow. It's slowing down. Gary Goodfellow slowed going into the hairpin, and it's Crevier, number 73, who grabs the lead. Darrell Fletcher, 57, into second, 101. Steve Dick in third, and there is Gary Goodfellow. Craig, he's got to be bitterly disappointed.
Oh, for sure, Pat. I mean, he's run like a train all weekend, and I don't know what's happened. It just looks like the fire went out on the bike, and it just plain quit coming down the back straight.
There you saw the battle for fourth place now between Mercier and Trinder. The leader, Crevier, followed by Fletcher and Dick. They're side by side for fourth, and Trinder has taken over fourth. Craig Trinder, the Seattle, Washington rider, moving his Suzuki around Michel Mercier. Mercier being pushed back into the fifth place spot. There is Ruben McMurder. It looks like he is slowing down himself. Problems on McMurder's machine. As he's put his hand up, he's slowing coming out of the hairpin, so it looks like McMurder now will head to the pits. Crevier, your leader. Fletcher in second. Then 101, Steve Dick third. Mercier continues to hound Trinder as they come up across the line. They're almost side by side. Michel Mercier still in a position where he would win the championship if he can hold on to that fifth place position. And right now, Craig, I think Michel is just watching Trinder and holding his position. He knows that fifth place spot would in fact give him the championship, and they are quite a distance ahead of the sixth place rider right now.
Oh, Michel's a very smart rider, Pat. He knows not to overstretch it. The championship's in the balance for him right here today.
Oh, there is Trinder on the last lap. He has overshot the hairpin. Michel Mercier moves around into fourth. He makes a quick check over his right shoulder, but he knows the championship will be his. Checkered flag is out at the line. Crevier wins it. 57, Darrell Fletcher in second. There is a happy Steve Crevier. A great run here for Crevier on the Yamaha. Steve Dick got third and Mercier fourth.
Well, that's it, Pat. Michel Mercier wins the Pro 750 Championship for 1988, and it's been a tough season for him in Superbikes. But this win must make the team of Mike Crompton and George Moran feel a whole lot better.
There's the rest of your top 10, including locals DeFago and Berg with good runs here today. And we'll be back with more from Westwood Motorsport Park and the Rothman Superbike Challenge. Westwood Motorsport Park, the Superbikes are rolling up to the starting grid for the start of our Superbike feature. The riders everybody are looking at are Steve Dick, number 101, who will start in the second row. He is chasing Ruben McMurder for the Superbike Championship. McMurder is starting at the back, and he'll have a monumental task in getting to the front to run with the leaders. Now here's Craig Hill.
Here's a rider that's even further back than McMurder. It's Gary Goodfellow, and his bike is stopped on the warm-up lap right in the middle of the hairpin, just where the other bike quit in this Pro 750 production race. They're trying to push start it, but it just won't fire up, Pat.
Craig, it appeared to fire on a couple of cylinders and then quit again. There are the other riders. They want the race to get underway, but Gary is in the middle of the racetrack, and they cannot start this race until they get his machine off the track. There's Michel Mercier and Steve Crevier. They will start on the front row. Both qualified well here yesterday. Gary Goodfellow, who should be on the front row, of course, is still trying to get his machine fired. And Steve Dick, who has a great shot at the championship, will ride a Suzuki. Norm Murphy will carry the Kawasaki colors on his GPZ 750. There's Goodfellow hobbling around.
Well, they've removed his Honda Superbike, Pat, but he's not too happy about it, and he just can't catch up with the corner workers because he's got a broken foot.
There they're off. The flag and the field away. Mercier appeared to have the lead as they come up through the kink. It's Michel Mercier, number 1, leading them into turn 1. You're on board Tommy Douglas's machine as he looks up ahead and sees the 3 riders, Mercier, Dick 101, and Crevier 73, who run ahead of him. Into turn 2, and on the inside, that is Greg Trinder on the Suzuki. Trinder has moved underneath of Douglas into the 4th place spot. Tommy runs back in 5th as it's single file out of the carousel here on lap number 1. The field stringing out just a little bit over Deer's Leap. It's still Michel Mercier. They break hard into the hairpin. Steve Dick down to the inside of Crevier. Dick will take over that 2nd place position. A beautiful pass under hard braking by Steve Dick. Mercier swings out wide. Dick is right there closing as they head up through the left-hander into the S's.
And Gary hasn't given up yet, Pat. As soon as the marshals put tires in front of the bike, Gary throws them away. I can't believe it down there.
On the front straightaway, and oh, something has let go. That's an oil line or a blown engine. On the front straightaway, it's Craig Trinder's machine in a turn 1. Mercier, and oh, Trinder goes down. His machine off the track. Number 9, McMillan. Oh, McMurder, number 24, goes end over end. 3 riders off in turn 1. A nasty incident here. McMurder is up. McMillan is moving around over to the machine. There is McMurder. He took a hard tumble, but he's gotten up from that fall. But it appeared as though Trinder's machine let go, either a broken oil line or the engine blew up there, going on the front straightaway. As he leaned it over in turn 1, there was evidently oil on the rear tire. He goes sliding off and takes McMurder and McMillan with him.
Well, there's the riders on the back straight, Pat. They're slowing up. They obviously have red flagged this thing. They had to. There's oil everywhere. Trinder looks all right. He had a monumental crash. Let's have another look at it here.
There you can see Trinder leans it over, and the bike goes sliding out from underneath him. McMillan runs off the racetrack, and it is McMurder runs right into Trinder's bike. He goes right over the handlebars. He took the worst of it.
Well, it looks like he was shot from a cannon there, Pat. He did take a real flyer, but I hope he's going to be all right. And here's Pat back on the grid with more.
Officials have cleaned up the oil on the racetrack. We'll have a brand new start to this race, so Gary Goodfellow gets a big break. However, Goodfellow did a test lap in pit lane that was not approved by the officials. He's been put to the back of the grid, so he'll be joining Ruben McMurder right at the tail end of the field, trying to catch the likes of Steve Dick and Michel Mercier, who will be starting at the front. So the riders will try to get this one underway for the 2nd time here this afternoon at Westwood.
What a wild start the first one was, and race officials have declared that a non-race, so that first lap didn't count.
There's the 2nd attempt of the start, side by side into turn 1. Mercier, number 1, leading, but up to the outside. It's Steve Crevier, and Crevier will grab the lead. Mercier in a 2nd, you're on board. Tommy Douglas's Yamaha with the Sony Handycam, providing these spectacular pictures of the 4 riders who run ahead of Tommy. That was Miguel Duhamel, the 4th place rider, over Deer's Leap. It is 73, Crevier, number 1, Mercier, side by side. There you can see Mercier on the edge of traction, and it is Dick 101 in a 3rd.
Oh, beautiful shots from the Sony Handycam on Tommy Douglas's bike, Pat, and there's Duhamel just in front of him.
Miguel Duhamel doing a great job keeping that Kawasaki up with the front-running 3 riders as they run it out of the S's and back to the start-finish line, going through the cement dust. They stir it up. That's been put down to soak up the oil. Back through the kink at 73, Crevier. Here's Mercier to the inside. Steve Dick pulls up alongside of Mercier into turn one, but it is Crevier who holds onto the lead. Steve Dick in second, Mercier to third. Miguel Duhamel, number 97, breaking into turn two on the inside of Mercier. He'll pick up that third place spot. The riders just swapping and chopping through this section of the racetrack, and again they shuffle the running order. 73, Crevier your leader, Dick in second. It's Duhamel now into third, Mercier fourth, Tommy Douglas running back in the fifth place spot. Up over Deer's Leap they'll come, side by side. 73, Crevier, Steve Dick, number 101 on the inside. Steve Dick will take over the lead going into the hairpin.
Oh, what a great pass under braking by Steve Dick. And there's Goodfellow now in eighth, coming all the way from the back of this grid. And number 24, Ruben McMurder, who badly needs points here for the 1988 Superbike Championship. He's up to 10th, Pat.
Craig, both of those riders have made some incredible charges up through the field, and here's the leaders across the line, side by side. 73, Crevier, Dick number 101, and Crevier, who just seems to go so quickly through that left-hand kink, takes the lead right back going through turn one. The battle now is for fourth. Goodfellow has worked his way to fifth. He is working on Mercier. There you can see the Sony Handycam providing us these beautiful pictures as number 87 now, Norm Murphy, moves around Tommy Douglas. Murph will move into the sixth place spot on the Kawasaki. It's Mercier, Goodfellow, and Murphy running just ahead of Tommy Douglas as we look at the battle for fourth place, and it is a good one. Up over Deer's Leap, Crevier, 73, and number 101, Steve Dick, continue to hammer at each other side by side into the hairpin. Dick, 101, takes the lead. Crevier in second, and Duhamel. And now it is 11, Gary Goodfellow, who has taken over that fourth place position. Number 1, Mercier is right there, along with 87, Murphy, Douglas, and then number 24, McMurder. Some of the best racing, Craig, we've seen all season long.
Oh, you bet, Pat. You can see when they come into that hairpin earlier just how hard they got to lean on those brakes to get the bike slowed down. So you can bet that onwards into this race, a lot of these guys will be getting a little weaker on the brakes, and somebody's going to take advantage of that. You watch.
Again, they swapped the lead. It was Steve Crevier moving around Steve Dick. On the Yamaha, it is Crevier, Dick on the Suzuki, and then it is Miguel Duhamel, who's just riding the wheels off that Kawasaki. Miguel racing here at Westwood for the first time, and Craigie doesn't have the track experience that Steve Crevier and Steve Dick do, but certainly Miguel Duhamel giving a great account of himself as the three riders head up over Deer's Leap.
Oh, that's for sure, Pat, but you know, he's got a new motor in that bike this weekend because he's making a lot more horsepower than he has in the past.
Heavy braking into the hairpin. Steve Dick, number 101, Crevier, and Miguel Duhamel. There's Gary Goodfellow, 11 in fourth. 1, Michel Mercier, the fifth place rider. 87, Murphy is sixth. And now Ruben McMurder has moved this Rothman's Honda machine up into the seventh place spot. You're back with the lead battle. Steve Dick, number 101, Crevier 73, and Duhamel 97.
Steve Dick's first place on the track, but he's in second place in the championship point standings, just behind McMurder. And I asked him if having McMurder starting at the back would change his race strategy.
Well, it does a bit. It takes a bit of the pressure off, especially with the three guys that beat me Saturday. Goodfellow, Mercier, and Crevier are all down in the points championship. So it does take a bit of the pressure off, but still I got to try and win today and make sure I finish well ahead of Ruben.
Steve Dick locked in a superb battle for the lead. Right now, Ruben McMurder runs back in sixth. There's Steve Dick to the inside of Duhamel as those three riders all over each other at the hairpin. Mercier swings wide. Gary Goodfellow goes underneath back into the fourth place spot. And Mercier and Goodfellow appear, Craig, to be catching those front three machines. There you can see McMurder back in sixth. The leaders back up to the line. 101, Steve Dick. It is 73, Crevier to the inside. They're side by side through the kink. And Goodfellow now challenging Duhamel.
And there's that pass by Goodfellow going into turn one, Pat. And that's where knowledge of this track really pays off for somebody. And there are the standings, with Goodfellow all the way from last to third as he looks for points in the championship race for the number 1 plate. And we'll be back with more action at the Rothman Superbike Challenge right after this.
Columbia, the conclusion of the Rothman Superbike Challenge, round number 5 of 6 for the Canadian Superbike number 1 plate. And it looks like the series will go all the way to the final race at Shannonville Motorsport Park, Craig.
Depending on the outcome of this race, Pat, it looks like it could be a 4 or 5 rider shootout at our last event.
Over the top of Deer's Leap into the hairpin. Goodfellow in a second. Steve Dick, number 101, squeezing through into the lead. There's Gary Goodfellow, number 11. And now it is 97 Duhamel. They're 3 wide. And Goodfellow takes the lead. Duhamel in a second. Steve Dick being pushed back to third. Crevier, 73, runs fourth. And all of a sudden, it's a 4-rider shootout. The blue and white last lap flag is out. Goodfellow, your leader. 97 Duhamel in second. Crevier and Dick running side by side into turn 1. But what a ride by Gary Goodfellow. The problems earlier, starting at the back, and now he finds himself in the lead with less than a lap to go, Craig.
Oh, he kept that one in the bag all the way, Pat, I'm sure, because he's had a hot weekend, and he's about to win this one for sure.
About a half a lap to go. Goodfellow breaks into the hairpin in traffic for the final time. Gary Goodfellow on that Honda RC30 accelerates out of the hairpin. Duhamel up out of the speed curbing, but he manages to hold on a second. Steve Dick there in third, and Crevier runs back in fourth. It is still anybody's race here for second, third, and fourth. The checkered flag is out. It'll be 11. Gary Goodfellow, your winner. 97 Duhamel in second. I believe Crevier got up there for third, and Steve Dick was fourth. But Craig, a superb race here this afternoon, and there's a happy Gary Goodfellow.
Oh, you bet, Pat. The final standings with Goodfellow taking the win, and what a job Miguel Duhamel did on Crevier and Dick to steal the second place spot. Great tactical riding by that rookie.
Let's check those all-important championship point standings. With McMurder's 6th place finish, he retains the lead, followed by Steve Dick, Gary Goodfellow, and Tommy Douglas. Those 4 are the only riders now in a position to win the Canadian Superbike #1 plate and championship. That's Mike Sostak from Castrol giving out the champagne to Goodfellow, Duhamel, and Crevier. And we'll be with you next from Shannonville in Ontario for the final race of the championship. On behalf of Craig Hale, I'm Pat Gonzalez. See you then.